Hey Homeschool Moms, I have another curriculum review for you today, and this is the one that I am the most excited about. This is the curriculum that I absolutely loved the most this year, and my kids loved the most. So that is Notgrass history. Now, I had a senior in high school using Notgrass history, their economics and government. I had my 11th grader, what grade was she in? 10th grader using the Notgrass American history. I cannot remember the exact title off the top of my head, but I'll put it down here somewhere for you. I also had my 6th grader and 8th grader using Uncle Sam and You from Notgrass. Love that. I actually have a full video review of that. I'll leave it down in the description. So I've just been happy with all of the Notgrass history this year. But my absolute favorite one this year had to be our Star-Spangled Story. And part of the reason it was my favorite is because this is the one that I actually read through and worked through and taught. My older kids were able to work through the curriculum independently, but my 1st grader and my 3rd grader and I worked through our Star-Spangled Story. I love this. This has to be my favorite, hands down my favorite history curriculum that I have ever used. So I'm going to share with you why I loved it so much and all the different components. So let's start with some of the components. I will turn the camera around and try to give you a look inside some of these different things. But first, let me share with you my excitement first. All right, so first, our Star-Spangled Story. It is a 2-part series. So you get 2 pretty thick books. So this is part 2. The first one is in storage because we just moved and I haven't unpacked it. It's packed up and I just unpacked the one that we needed. But one of the things that I love about our Star-Spangled Story is the pictures. My boys were so enthralled and engaged with the pictures. One of the things that this curriculum comes with is a workbook, and a lot of times there was pictures that they could color, and normally they enjoy coloring while I am reading a story, but they did not want to miss any of these great pictures, and so we loved that. The other thing that I absolutely loved about this history curriculum and really was a hit with my boys is that each lesson starts with a little story, kind of like an autobiography, a biography of someone or of just a specific incident that grabbed my attention and my boys' attention, and then also gave us kind of a person or situation to kind of hang all of the other information that we were learning on. So one example of this is when they were talking about World War II, they introduced that kind of time period and what was going on with a story about a girl named Emma, and talked about how Emma lived on one of the Hawaiian islands. And it says, early one Sunday morning in 1941, Emma suddenly heard planes in the distance, and she looked up toward the sound of approaching engines. Why were these planes flying so low? As they flew toward her, she saw a large red circle painted on the side of one of them. She had never seen a plane with that design. She soon saw smoke rising up from the direction of the Navy base at Pearl Harbor. The United States Navy had many ships and thousands of sailors stationed at Pearl Harbor. Why was there smoke over there? 11-year-old Emma climbed up onto a neighbor's roof to get a better view, and on it goes. So this really grabbed my attention and my boys' attention. And then as we're learning about World War II and what's going on, they had this picture of an 11-year-old girl, and everything else that they were learning seemed to make more sense, to be more personal. And so I really enjoyed that. I felt like we really remembered, and I say we, not just my boys, I remembered a lot more history this way. The other interesting thing was that I said my 10th grade daughter was doing the high school American history from Notgrass. And so her kind of timeline of history really lined up almost exactly with my boys. And so a lot of times my 10th grader would come and sit and listen to the stories that we were reading because it actually helped her to better understand the more detailed stuff that she was learning in her Notgrass American history book at the high school level. And a lot of times she, if we read after she had read, she'd listen to the stories, and it really made what she had been reading come more alive. So I had somebody ask me, well, isn't this dry and boring? We did not find it dry and boring at all. Now, like I said, one of the things that this comes with is a workbook. And so there's a workbook for the student to do with some different things to color, different activities that they can do. My boys really enjoyed this in the beginning of the year, and then they kind of lost interest. And so if they wanted to do the activity in there, great. If they didn't, I didn't make them do it. The only exception was there was a couple activities where I thought, this would be really good reinforcement of what we had just learned, or I kind of want to use this as a test to see how much they've retained, and so I have them do the workbook pages. But for the most part, that was just some. If they were interested in it, great, and if not, then I didn't make them do that. The other thing that I really liked about the textbook is that there are lesson activities, there are review questions, and then there's a hands-on history idea. After each 3 lessons that you would do, 3 lessons a week, there's like a unit project. There's also literature books, and we did that. We got the literature package, and so we were able to read books related to the time periods that we were studying, and we just loved that. That was so much fun. We really enjoyed that. Our Star-Spangled Story is 3 lessons a week. So we did the first lesson on Monday, the second lesson on Tuesday, the third lesson on Wednesday. We would answer the review questions. We would do some of the lesson activities. Then on Thursday, we would just have a really nice long read aloud time with the literature book. And then on Friday, we would do the unit activity hands-on project. Depending on, sometimes we would do the big one at the end, that they have at the end of the chapter, sometimes, or that week's lesson, or sometimes we would do one of the ones that was just for a particular day's lesson. And so we would do those on Friday. We didn't do big activities every Friday. Some Fridays were for field trips. So when we were learning about Pocahontas, we went around our city and found several statues that we have here of Pocahontas and of Lewis and Clark. And so we did that on Friday for kind of our Friday fun day, instead of doing a big activity or project from our Star-Spangled Story. We went on a field trip that was related to what we were learning about. All right, a couple other things. So like I said, you get 2 volumes, 2 parts, 2 books. You also get the workbook, which I showed you. It also comes with Star-Spangled Rhymes and Rhythms, and I actually really like this book. My boys, not so much. So I didn't use this much with my boys. It's just rhymes and little songs that you can sing and read with your kids related to that time period. There are soundtracks available online so that you can actually listen to it. I think if I was doing this curriculum with girls, this would have been a big hit, but my boys, not so much. But I liked it, but I didn't really do much with them, because really the whole point was to get them excited about history and to help history come alive and stick in their brains. Now, one thing that they did enjoy was the timeline book. And again, wonderful pictures and color. And that really helped us to be able to see where all the events were taking place in relation to the other events that we were learning about. So I really like that. You guys, this is like hardback, beautiful pictures. Like, it is such good quality. And I will turn the camera around and give you a look inside each of these a little bit closer, because I know when I hold it up, you can't see super well. The other thing that it comes with is our Star-Spangled Story answer key and literature guide. I did not need the answer key. It's answers to the review questions that are in the book. I read the book with them. I knew the answers to the questions, so I didn't actually use this for the review questions. And we discussed the literature on our own as we were learning it, and so I didn't use the literature guide as much as I thought I would either. But certainly, you know, this is nice to have. There was a couple times when some of the review questions I went, I'm not really sure what they're asking, so I was able to look those up in here. But that is one other component. So like I said, our Star-Spangled Story was by far my favorite history curriculum that I have ever used in 19 years of homeschooling. And I'm actually sad that we're coming to an end. We just have one more week of lessons to do. And I'm a little sad that it's coming to an end and that I don't have any younger kids to use it again with. So I'm going to actually keep this on our bookshelf because I just think it's a great history book for the kids to be able to have access to and read through, and just beautiful pictures. So I'm sad that we're going to be ending it because I loved this curriculum and my boys loved it too. If you said, what's your favorite curriculum this year? This, almost every time, probably 95% of the time that you asked them, it was our Star-Spangled Story. They just really, really enjoyed it. And it was just a sweet time for me to just sit and learn alongside my boys because history is not my specialty. And so this made history come alive for me and made different events in history stick in my head so much better than any other curriculum I've ever used. So let's take a look inside the different components and you can see if this might be a good fit for your family. Well, let's go ahead and start with our Star-Spangled Story. Remember, this is 2 parts, so this is part 2, but there is a whole nother textbook to work through that's just in storage, so I'm not able to show it to you. But what I did want to show you is just the beautiful pictures and the way each week is set up. So here's Unit 16. This would be like week 16 of the curriculum, and you have 3 lessons there. And then, like I said, we would do one on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Thursday, we would read the literature. Friday, we would do one of the activities. But you could certainly do this 3 days a week. You could split it up. They have some information on their website on how you could actually use this curriculum several different ways if you want to have a 3-day week, 4-day week, 5-day week, school week, and all of that. So they've got some helpful stuff on their website. So here's, Unit 16 tells you what the lessons are. Just wanted to show you what a lesson looks like. So this one is on the first telephone call. And so see here, you have that little story that it's starting with. Some wonderful pictures, very engaging. And so that's what you would read with your student. And then it's got some lesson activities that you could use. It says all around the USA map at the end of the book. You can find Boston, Canada, Hartford, and Philadelphia. Okay, so right here, all around the USA, and they would find those places here. So getting a little geography in there. It has an activity from the Rhythms and Rhymes book that I showed you, and I'll show you again in just a minute. Some page in the student workbook, and then it tells you what to read for literature. So for units 16 through 18, you'd be reading Mountain Boy with your children. That's going to be a story that's based on or about the time period that you're currently reading. Has some review questions and then some hands-on history activity ideas that your student can do. And then we have another lesson. This one's on Helen Keller. And same thing, lesson activities, question review, and then some hands-on history ideas. You can do as much or little of this as you want. So sometimes we didn't do any lesson activities. We just answered the review questions. We didn't do any hands-on history. Sometimes we just read the story and we get off on rabbit trails and talking about things and looking stuff up online, and we didn't get to any of this. So you can use it how you want to. It's got lots of stuff there, and you know, you use it as you need it. And then at the end of the unit, here is a project. So they're making a Statue of Liberty bookmark, and there's the instructions and the pattern there, and then it starts off with another unit. So that's how it is set up. Next, let me show you inside the student workbook. Okay. So like I said, my kids enjoyed doing this in the beginning of the school year, and then their interest kind of went away and we didn't use it at the end. But here's something to color. Here's kind of matching up the different continents. They're coloring a flag, they're drawing a picture, and then you can see, later on we didn't get to these things. But that's kind of what is in this workbook. Some kids love this kind of stuff, and for some of them, it just seems like busy work. And so if it's busy work, my philosophy is it's not worth doing. If they enjoy it, great. If it makes history more exciting, great. Otherwise, we don't need to be doing extra work that's not benefiting them. Next up is this Star-Spangled timeline, and I'm just gonna open up and show you one of the page spreads here. So obviously you got the dates down here and pictures and an explanation for the different events. So we really enjoyed looking at this and just getting a better idea of when different events happened in relation to other events that we were learning about in history. So this is the Star-Spangled Rhythms and Rhymes book, and like I said, my boys weren't super interested in this, so we did not use this. If I had girls, they'd probably have enjoyed this. So here's the table of contents. It's just rhythms, I should say songs and rhymes that go along with just what we were learning in history. And it does tell you there is music and audio that goes along with this. All right, last up is the answer key and literature guide. And that pretty much is information on the different books that go with the literature component if you want to get that, and answers to the review questions that are at the end of every lesson in here. So again, I did not use this much, but you might find it helpful. So anyways, that's a look inside our Star-Spangled Story. Like I said, this was hands down my favorite curriculum for history by far. So if it looks like something that your kids might like, I would encourage you to check it out.